was an election of many consequences. There was hope going into the polls. No one was silent about politics this time. Nigerians were awake and ready to take back their country. Then, this happened.
Now, what are you telling your superior?
How did INEC manage to get it all wrong again? As Nigerians scratch their heads in search of answers, I want to take you on a journey that will help reveal what really happened. It turns out the handwriting was on the wall months before the election. Some well-meaning citizens tried to warn. Some were called conspiracy theorists. Some dismissed as mere rumors and distractions until those rumors played out before our very eyes. So, to answer the question of who really won the Nigeria 2023 presidential election, we need to take a step back and listen to the voices in the wilderness. Were their warnings true?
Tinubu Bola Ahmed of the APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner.
Nigeria has always struggled with electoral integrity. Since returning to democracy in 1999, every election cycle has witnessed some form of voter fraud, violence, or even outright rigging by politicians who fight so hard to cling on to power. But with the younger generation beginning to show interest in politics, the electoral body INEC wanted to implement drastic changes that will help deal with the bad reputation and even win over trust from the Nigerian public, especially considering the large increase in the number of registered voters. You see, INEC disclosed that as of 2019, the number of registered voters in Nigeria was 84 million people, meaning Nigeria has 11 million more voters than the whole of West Africa combined. So it then means INEC had a lot of work to do to ensure that the general election was free and fair. The good thing though was the burden was not solely on the commission. Now here comes the second important character in our story, the National Assembly. Before every general election, the Nigerian National Assembly has always amended an existing set of laws known as the Electoral Act, or created a new one. The laws created in 2002 regulated the 2003 general elections. The 2006 laws regulated the general elections of 2007, whereas the set of laws designed in 2010 regulated the 2011 general elections. After the 2011 general elections, the 2010 Electoral Act was reviewed and amended for the 2015 and 2019 general elections. The funny thing though is all of these amendments didn't stop cases of electoral fraud in Nigeria, and the people began to lose faith in the system. But there was something about the Electoral Act of 2022 that made it special. It was almost like the missing piece of the puzzle, the one legal document that would catapult Nigerian elections to the top of international best practices. And so, the fight began. The 2022 Electoral Act was so important because of certain provisions that made it difficult for politicians to rig elections. One of those was the introduction of a technology called BVAS, Bimodal Voter Accreditation System. It was meant to be the game changer, but getting the National Assembly to approve its use would require a whole new battle. There was strong opposition from the ruling party regarding the use of the technology in the presidential election, with some expressing concerns that Nigeria was not ready for such technology in its election. One of the big concerns from the ruling party was the electronic transmission of results, which was a feature of the BVAS. This meant presiding officers at polling units would snap their result sheets after calling out the vote counts of each political party and upload the same to the INEC results viewing portal. Another technology-driven innovation known as iRev from the polling unit in the presence of the whole voters. This was for transparency's sake and, in all honesty, to restore some level of trust in the commission. Top politicians kicked against this, I guess because it would prevent any form of manipulation of results in collation centers. something that has come to define Nigerian politics. One very notable politician that was strongly against the deployment of this technology in the 2023 election was Senator Abdullahi Adamu. He is the APC national chairman, and coincidentally, he lost his re-election bid to the Senate. His concern was that there were places that lacked internet penetration, and this, according to him, may affect the use of the device. It is good to note here that two paramount technologies were being deployed for the election by INEC. The bimodal voter accreditation system BVAS and the INEC result viewing portal IREV were widely regarded as game changers for the 2023 election. But with all that explanation, the ruling party was not satisfied. Not knowing how to stop the INEC without incurring the wrath of Nigerians, the APC decided to frustrate the process instead. APC deployed its lawmakers in the National Assembly to do the dirty work of trying to make it difficult for INEC to use technology in the election. You see, the 1999 Constitution gave INEC powers as an independent body to conduct elections that are free and fair to the Nigerian people. But in its bid to take control of the process, the APC-controlled National Assembly in 2021 passed an Electoral Act Amendment Bill which requires the Commission to seek clearance, that is, to seek permission from the Nigerian National Communication Commission (NCC) and the National Assembly before deploying electronic transmission of election results in any area. This was a shame. A decision that, by design of the Constitution, was left for the INEC was now subject to approval of politicians that same INEC is meant to conduct elections for. So, it begs the question, where is the independence of INEC? Of all the APC senators in the National Assembly, only 2 voted for the adoption of the technology. Now, here are the 52 APC senators that voted against electronic transmission of results. INEC on its part said repeatedly that it is ready for electronic transmission of future election results.
There is no going back on the deployment of the bimodal voter accreditation system BVAS.
After months and months of deliberations, back and forth battles with INEC and the general public, the Nigerian Senate finally bowed to pressure, allowing INEC to determine the mode of transmission of results for the 2023 election. Yeah, I downloaded the Electoral Act to have a read. It's a very boring document, except if you're a lawyer, but you know, I just have to read it for you so you don't have to.
The things I do for love.
Before signing the document into law, President Muhammadu Buhari praised provisions in the act that could positively revolutionize elections in Nigeria through the introduction of new technological innovations. Innovations that would go on to define the 2023 presidential election, not for its success or failure, but for lack of deployment, even after all that battle to get it introduced into the law. But let's not jump our guns here. Now it is good to mention that it was not just the APC senators that were against BVAS and electronic transmission of results. On the 8th of December 2022, the candidate of the All Progressive Congress and eventual winner of the election, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, spoke against the BVAS, expressing doubts on the credibility of the technology. In response, the commission expressed shock, just as every person in the executive branch of the Nigerian government has come to be so fond of in the last 8 years. As at when Tinubu was questioning the credibility of BVAS, the technology was already used in 3 elections, in Ekiti, Anambra, and Osun states. All 3 elections were hailed as credible, free, and fair. So, what was Tinubu on about? Maybe it wasn't the credibility of BVAS that was to be questioned. Maybe it was the personnel handling the devices. Because, as it turns out, computers don't lie, but people do. While addressing the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, United States, President Muhammadu Buhari said this.
President, I have set the goal that one of the enduring legacies I would like to leave is to entrench a process of free, fair, and transparent, credible election through which Nigerians elect their choice.
Well, great speech, but before making this trip to the UN, there was a huge controversy at home that Buhari failed to respond to. On July 26th, President Muhammadu Buhari sent a list of 19 resident electoral commissions, known as RECs, to the Senate, asking the upper legislative chamber to confirm the nominees for appointment as replacement for those whose tenures were about to expire. But amongst those, 4 were alleged to be not only politically exposed persons, but also card-carrying members of political parties that would be taking part in the 2023 election. I thought INEC was supposed to be independent and, not have their staff engaged in partisan politics. So, what the hell was going on? While addressing a press conference on August 26, 2022, a coalition of civil society organizations raised concerns about the nomination of Muhammad Bashir from Sokoto, Sylvia Agu from Enugu, Pauline Onyeka, Imo, and Queen Elizabeth Agu from Ebonyi State. According to the concerns raised, Bashir contested the Sokoto State governorship poll in 2015 on the platform of the governing All Progressive Congress APC. Agu is related by birth to the APC Deputy National Chairman from the Southeast. The nominee from Imo was accused of incompetence and corruption as head of ICT at INEC. The one from Ebonyi was alleged to have connived with politicians to undermine elections. In other words, this person helped politicians to rig an election. The concerns of the group was that if appointed, this individual's membership in INEC would affect the credibility of the elections. But this was not the first time Buhari would come under fire for his appointments into INEC. President Muhammadu Buhari has been accused of relying on party leaders, especially state governors, in making appointments to critical offices, even though he is not the only president to have done that. But that is a story for another day. An example of one of these appointments to INEC was his attempt to appoint his special assistant on social media, Mrs. Loretta Onoche, as INEC commissioner. Onoche was eventually rejected by the Senate, but these appointments caused a whole lot of people to cry foul multiple times. So, as Buhari was in the faraway US promising free and fair elections, Nigerians were questioning his appointments and commitment to deliver on that promise. INEC, on the other hand, said it was ready to give Nigerians the best election in its history.
And with the enthusiasm of Nigerians, the goodwill of stakeholders and partners, and the commitment of the Commission, we believe that the 2023 general election will be among the best conducted in Nigeria.
In multiple media appearances, interviews, and even on social media in Twitter Spaces, INEC continued to promise Nigerians that the 2023 general election will be technology-driven. The National Commissioner, Information and Voter Education Committee, Barrister Festus Okoye, said that the Commission will upload polling unit level results, that is from EC8A, and the accreditation data to the INEC result viewing portal, stating that this is also a mandatory provision of Section 50, 60, and 64 of the Electoral Act of 2022. Nigerians immediately understood this to mean that presiding officers are required by law to upload polling unit results directly to the INEC results viewing portal from the polling unit. To make all this possible, INEC budgeted a total sum of 355 billion naira for the polls in 2023 fiscal year budget. To put this figure in perspective, here is a graph showing the budget for all previous elections in Nigeria. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, had in December 2021 told the National Assembly that it would require 305 billion naira as projected expenditure for the 2023 elections. This 305 billion naira was approved for the conduct of the 2023 general elections by the National Assembly. But the INEC boss further told a Senate committee that the Commission would need a further 50 billion naira for its annual budget in 2023, an increment of 10 billion naira compared to the 2022 budget, which was 40 billion naira, as approved by the National Assembly. So, what did the Commission do with all this money? Here is a graph showing the distribution of the 305 billion naira given to INEC. The commission spent a whopping 117 billion naira on anti-hacking softwares for the election, part of which is the 𝗪𝗲𝗲 and INEC results viewing portal. But INEC's preparation was not only in cash. On September 9, 2022, INEC disclosed a move to recruit over 1.4 million ad hoc staff in preparation for the 2023 general election. According to Professor Mahmood, the number of ad hoc staff to be deployed by INEC for the 2023 general election is more than the combined strength of the police and armed forces in Nigeria. But as INEC was getting ready, stories were circulating of what was to come. There were some dark forces behind the scenes that were working tirelessly to ensure the elections didn't go as planned. On the 21st of August 2022, Punch newspaper reported that the Independent National Electoral Commission had said the collation of results of the 2023 general elections will be done manually, despite the adoption of electronic transmission of results. According to Punch, Festus Okoye said in an interview that there is a marked difference between the transfer or transmission of results and the collation of results. The statement led to many angry reactions on social media, with many Nigerians saying that the commission had perfected plans to rig the elections. However, Mr. Okoye, realizing the damage his interview had caused, immediately moved to correct what he called a misinterpretation of his statements. He said the electronic transmission of results had come to stay and there was no going back on it. This is detention, but there was more to come. It was September 2022 and a very disturbing news was trending. The coalition of united political parties cried out about secret plans by some politicians to stop the use of 𝗪𝗲𝗲 and electronic transmission of results. According to this group, the plans were being put in place by the ruling All Progressive Congress to intimidate the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) into abandoning the use of 𝗪𝗲𝗲 and the electronic transmission of results and to deactivate the 𝗪𝗲𝗲 from the commission's server. The group claimed they had intercepted intelligence of an alleged fresh plot against the 2023 general election, and this time it was being coordinated by leading figures of the APC. You see, if 𝗪𝗲𝗲 was deactivated from the servers, it then means that result transmission was not going to work. This created panic among Nigerian voters. INEC chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu in response said these were all lies and that there was no such plan to abandon the bimodal voter accreditation system, that is the 𝗪𝗲𝗲, nor was there a plan to abandon the electronic transmission of results for the elections. So after all of this assurance, the question is, what really happened? Was the report a rumor or not? Well, I guess you should have the answer to that question already. Were the results transmitted from the polling unit or not? On February 19, 2023, a Labour Party chieftain said, quote, "If not manipulated, 𝗪𝗲𝗲𝗏 can ensure election credibility," end of quote. And while he was not a prophet, it took just 6 days for his statement to come to fruition. I wouldn't say the 𝗪𝗲𝗲s were manipulated, but on the grand stage where they were meant to perform wonders, they didn't. And that is where the thought of manipulation comes to mind.
The result was neither uploaded online or offline.
Less than 25 million people turned out to vote in the February 25th general election, making it the lowest turnout in recent Nigerian presidential elections. For context, here is a graph showing voter turnouts in the previous elections. There are so many reasons for that, but I'm not going to go into that. However, doubts about credibility of the process started when INEC officials failed to turn up early in some polling units. Some turned up with faulty 𝗪𝗲𝗏s, some forgot some electoral materials at home. In one polling unit, the INEC ad hoc staff said they had run out of ink and so wanted to halt the exercise altogether. So many flimsy excuses to stop people from voting. Some even couldn't carry out accreditation for all of the voters on time to be able to complete the exercise. But what I find so disturbing is after all the promises of free and fair elections, After the huge outlay in money spent, only 25 million people turned out, and those that did went through this. While some polling units experienced a peaceful process, there was chaos in some other places, from thugs snatching ballot boxes to party agents threatening a particular tribe in an effort to stop them from voting. There was also an incident of an agent of the ruling party warning all voters in a particular polling unit that they must vote for the ruling party or leave without casting their votes. A lady who went out to vote was stabbed in the face, trying to exercise her right to choose her next leader. For a free and fair election, you would think the chaos would stop at just a few thugs disrupting the process, and you would be wrong. There were reports of a police officer thumbprinting on ballot papers, but these were minor issues compared with what was to come.
Tonight there's no way
In a rather strange turn of events, INEC made a U-turn on its promises of electronic transmission of results. Instead of uploading results directly from polling units as promised in several public interviews, INEC declared a winner with the majority of the results from polling units yet to be uploaded to the results viewing portal. This has resulted in people questioning the credibility of the system. But why did this happen? Some presiding officers claim they tried severally to upload in some polling units, but somehow the beavers kept malfunctioning and stopping the upload process at 25%. In one instance, while checking the IREV, results from a polling unit in Sokoto, a northern state, was uploaded as a polling unit result for one of the polling units in Lagos State. Some presiding officers reported being instructed not to upload any results from their polling units. Some complained of not having the passwords. Some said they were giving the wrong passwords. This immediately raised the question, was someone tampering with the INEC database? While watching these videos and going through reports from different polling units, one question keeps popping up in my head. How do you trust a process as chaotic as this? In INEC's defense, Festus Okoye expressed regrets over the malfunctioning of the INEC results viewing portal. According to INEC, the challenges were caused by technical hitches resulting from the advancement of the IREF portal from a platform for state elections to one capable of managing nationwide voting. But what the hell does that mean? In other words, the IREV was never designed for a nationwide voting. Or what was this explanation about? They were only trying to upgrade it to be able to work for a nationwide voting exercise? This statement is inconsistent with what INEC had been saying for months. But this was their defense for an exercise that was questioned even by international observers. The inconsistency led to fracas in the National Coalition Center when Dino Melaye, a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, engaged the INEC chairman in a fiery shouting match.
No, you are now being disruptive.
I am not disrupting. The Electoral Act says that what is uploaded
you are now being disruptive.
You can bundle me out, but the right thing must be done. I'm a party agent.
You are now
that is what the
you are now being disruptive of the process.
I am not being disruptive. I'm asking what is uploaded is
The opposition parties called for the entire process to be aborted. Even former President 𝗪𝗪𝗂𝗧𝘂𝗧𝗂𝗧 also lent his voice to the calls for the process to be halted. The grounds for this was INEC's failure to upload polling unit level results to the IREV as promised. All this chaos emanated from the INEC's failure to conduct a transparent electoral process. One notable observation of the international observers was that the election fell well short of Nigerians' expectations. They also pointed out the issues of logistical challenges, political violence, INEC's lack of transparency, and lots more. In the eyes of many, the 2023 elections was a failure, and someone needs to take responsibility for it. But the current leadership failure in Nigeria means everything may continue as usual, without anyone stepping up to take responsibility for what actually happened on February 25th. The aftermath of all of this has been chaotic. INEC declarations of a winner have left the majority of Nigerians in dissent, if you consider the fact that 64% of those that voted are now in doubt about the credibility of the whole process. There have been protests with voters demanding for polling unit level results uploaded using the beavers. In fact, 6 states controlled by the People's Democratic Party initially filed a petition at the Supreme Court demanding the apex court nullifies the results and compel the commission to conduct a fresh election. However, less than 24 hours later, 7 PDP states asked for the suit to be withdrawn in a move many have called a plan to ally with Peter Obi in his lawsuit against APC and the INEC. With some Nigerians calling on the INEC chairman to step down and the result from the 25th February exercise rejected, it promises to be a long legal battle ahead. But whatever be the outcome of that court clash, Nigerians are definitely the losers in this election, as failed promises, lack of transparency, and crude manipulations of the electoral process by politicians have once again robbed them of a chance at credible elections. Nigerians really wanted a change. People were truly tired of the ruling party. But when you take a step back to look at the series of events that led to Tinubu's victory, you would see clearly that the opposition lost this race even before it began. You see, months before the election, some analysts warned that the division in the opposition parties was going to cost them dearly. In all of history, never has a house divided against itself stood. For all the talks of a third force, Peter Obi and realjudebela were not really new forces in the political space. They both were factions of the PDP that parted ways once it became obvious that the ticket was not going to be theirs. Such division in the opposition camp was always going to make the ruling party stronger and more confident of victory. No matter what side you stand, you will agree with me that it was a poor political strategy that spelled dangers ahead. Now look at the final results and you can see how that played out. What would have happened if PDP presented its best candidate and avoided a breakup of the party? This miscalculation is one that will leave Nigerians wondering what might have been for years to come. As for the February 25, 2023 election, the question of who really won will remain a public debate many years to come. Was it rigged for the ruling party? Was it lost based on political miscalculations? I'll leave you to your thoughts, but kindly share them with me in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this one. Check this video showing up on your screen right now, and I'll see you there.